Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. My name is Samaria and I'm joined by my best friend and co-host,
Miosha.
And we are reviewing Love is Blind Season 7, the wedding episode. I think episode 11 it is. So if you have been following along with this season, make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and meet us in the comments because there's a lot to talk about. I'm so sad about this first thing that we're going to talk about just because it was such a visceral reaction and such a real reaction to what was going on. It broke my entire heart. So we're going to start with Marissa and Ramses.
That whole thing was so uncomfortable for me to watch. What about you?
Was it uncomfortable? A little bit. It was a little uncomfortable. It wasn't as uncomfortable as watching Clay do it at the altar. I think I prefer this method.
That's next level. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was uncomfortable about it for you?
Well, before I get to that, I guess we can run down a little bit of what happened, and then I'll talk about the part that was really uncomfortable for me. So they pick up with them still sitting on the bed and talking, which initially I'm like, why are we at this scene? That's where I perk up to wonder what else could have been said. So they're talking. He, just a little bit of recap, I guess he had spoke to some family members, and now he's having second thoughts. He says that he talked to his family about his ex-wife, and turns out she was hurting much more than he thought that she was after their divorce. And so immediately I'm thinking, I want to hear from the ex-wife.
Really?
Yes, what's her perspective? Because all we've heard so far is that he moved away from his faith and she didn't. He decided to end it. Also, I'm thinking, you went through a divorce. Of course, she's going to take it seriously. This is someone I think he had been with since he was coming of age, since he got married so young. That was my understanding. So, I don't know. I wanted to hear more about why is the family just sharing this with you now?
I'm not surprised that we didn't hear much. I feel like whatever details Marissa was looking for, which she was right to look for, I feel like there wouldn't have been details he would share on camera. I find him to be transparent, but also strategic. He's someone who I don't think would say everything on camera.
Yeah, he did say how the family was still really close. His family was still really close with the ex-wife. And so Marissa in this conversation is trying to assure him that, hey, it's natural to maybe have an uneasy feeling, but you were so sure. Why does it seem like now your feelings have changed after just one conversation? It's always going to be a risk getting married again. And so I think for him, he said something about, I worry about hurting you like I did my ex-wife. And I'm assuming that's because he's realizing that he's not so sure about her anymore.
Well, he said he's sure that he loves her, but he realizes love alone is not enough. Dang, can I get it out? Love alone is not enough, which is true. I don't fault Marissa for trying to reassure him and for trying to talk through it and just stating what her stance is, like, hey, I'm still all in.
And I agreed with him on the love is not
for sure
enough, in that, okay, it's only been a few weeks. I think they probably had a lot more conversations offline, maybe that he didn't want to address even on camera. And I think now the wheels are turning. Okay, does this relationship have longevity? From what I've seen so far, can I take that leap?
And I think we said this in our review last week, one of us, but just about not being surprised because this is his second marriage, that
that he
would be slower to be all in. Like, the excitement that Marissa was feeling was definitely warranted. I think they had established something decent or that they were both enjoying.
Mm-hmm.
But entering to a marriage, I've just felt is a lot for them. I think we've said 2 weeks in a row now, okay, maybe if they left the show and dated, maybe there's more that we need to see. Like they need to navigate these big conversations and big issues a little bit more before a whole marriage. And someone who's been divorced would definitely be reconsidering.
And that's what he was saying, that he's used to leading with his emotions and maybe not making the best decisions. So now he's trying to lean on what's logical. And so I just don't think it was enough time. She ended up saying that, well, before I say that, he said that he feels like there are some things that about her where he may have brushed to the side.
Yeah, about her energy specifically. Which this is where I started to feel like he's being vague, and it seems like she felt the same way because she was asking. I do hate though that is something that she mentioned early on being hesitant about, and that was the thing that I don't want to say used against her, but I hate that initially she said, well, guys are okay with me in the beginning, but then my energy always turns them off. And then I hate that it's a repeat of what has always happened to her, because, Marissa seems happy-go-lucky and everything, but she seems like such a sweet person that I hate for her to be heartbroken over something that she almost predicted.
Predicted because it's been an issue. I think it may have been more than just the energy. And he just didn't want to say that on camera, which I don't have an issue with. I don't think you need to air out everything. When she went on to say like, hey, you're the person that maybe needs to date someone for years and you shouldn't have came on this process. This wasn't for you. At the same time, I think for her, like if I were her and I knew I have a lot of energy and I can be a lot for people, I maybe too would have to second guess a process like this. Maybe maybe you need to date me in a real world situation to ensure that my energy won't be enough, won't be too much for you over time, because that's also a risk that I think she took, even though she was transparent and honest about, hey, this is who I am, how I am. If you know that it's usually not an issue for men for a few months, and then they're like, actually, this doesn't jive with me. I'm not saying that she shouldn't have participated, but I think if that's usually been your story and then you go jump in a process that's only 3 weeks, you could run the risk of the same thing happening where you're a good time for a bit, but I don't actually, oops, my bad. I don't think I can handle this for forever.
If I were Marissa, I disagree in that. I think someone like her could or should still be in this process, because everybody comes with their, like for her, it's the energy. For someone else, it's the lack of energy. Like, say a Taylor who was more, I don't want to say one note, but very,
even keel,
almost anemic in her lack of energy in a lot of ways. But so I disagree with that. I think energy seemed so vague, and so I was really listening in to see what about her energy. It's not that she's happy-go-lucky. It seems that she might be a little high-strung, because he got a little more specific, but not much. But he talked about the stress of her day-to-day. And so I wonder if for someone like Ramses, we're in this situation where she's far, she's having to commute to her school. If he just wants to see, okay, what would it look like if we're a little bit closer? Does that make her less high strung, or is she just more of a high strung person and I need to adapt to that? They're not in their real worlds yet. And so I don't know that it's her energy and her being bubbly, or if it's her, what other people have called out her, not inconsistency, but
is it the same thing that other people have called out about her?
And he said with her mom,
that's how she took it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But you know, with her mom, he said something like, I would really have to prepare myself for every interaction we have with her. If that's how, you know, she is, I would have to prepare myself for every interaction. And so I wonder if there are some like similar characteristics he's seeing there that he's like, okay, I need to make sure. I don't know. I hate it that it happened. I hated to see her hurt. And a part of me is like, ooh, Ramses, why'd you do our girl like that? But there have been issues that have been brought up over the season that maybe couldn't be overlooked, and perhaps it's better for it to have ended there. I don't think he took any joy in ending this. You know, a lot of people are like, "Oh, Ramsey's
No,
for the street. He's for the streets. He's this, that, and the other." And I don't know. Maybe we don't know these people, but it
and I
seems to be a
think their
different.
situation is realistic to what a lot of couples go through in the dating phase. Now, I think some people, as she said, it's been an issue that's been reoccurring that people have called out about her energy. It could have been something else, whatever that insert thing is. But I think a lot of couples can go through, you start dating someone, you think you're okay with how they are, and then you get to a point and you're like, actually, no, I can't do this. It's kind of like that's what dating is. It's a trial run of kind of seeing like, hey, could this jive with my life realistically indefinitely or not? And it's for them, yeah, they're not in a normal situation, so it is difficult to make a decision like that so quickly. I felt uncomfortable just with the sheer emotion of how she broke down because it felt very real, very raw. I think many women can relate to having that heartbreak feeling, but like to watch her go through it live was uncomfortable for me because I think we've all been there where you've been heartbroken, even if you're the one who calls it off. That when I saw her, I was like, "Ooh, I know exactly how that feels,"
And
and
I
so
think
that's
I
why it was
loved it
uncomfortable
because
for
of
me
that. Like,
because,
yeah.
ooh,
It it was hard to
I,
watch, but I think I loved how relatable the moment was. I hate her having this very vulnerable moment televised, you know. This see the thing with Netflix is all these conversations y'all have kept quiet. Y'all have not y'all have conveniently just not had the cameras around for Team and Alex's blow up and this person's blow up. This was the conversation that maybe they could have just concealed. But I want to be careful with how I talk about this because I don't want it to seem like Marissa's the issue because she has this big energy. I think you will never be too much for the right person. And so if her energy is a problem for Rams, perhaps he's just not the right one for her. And there will be someone who she's, you know, looking for and who would appreciate her in all of her energeticness or whatever.
oh
So
yeah, I definitely think she can find her right person. They just weren't the right fit. I just think that 3 weeks is an extreme for everyone.
to even say
So
if they are
I
the right
think
fit or not is too short.
yeah, it's too short. Um, I will say for him because he's been married before, I do think she was right in that okay, maybe you should have thought like, oh, because this is my second rodeo, I'm gonna double, triple check and everything needs to be a certain way before I could say yes. I also think too that if it were me and there was an element about me where people would maybe need to spend a bit more time around me to be like, oh yeah, like it actually isn't a problem. I appreciate that. I love that about you. Then I probably would have considered that too if it were me. Not
Yeah.
saying she had to, but it's only because she herself called it out that this has been something, and I'm not saying that what Ramses was saying is exactly what other people were calling out, but only because she's been down that rodeo a few times and it's clearly heartbroken her. It just, like you said, it sucked to watch him call out the thing that she predicted,
Was afraid of from the
like
beginning. Like you,
from the very beginning.
yes. And And also something that he said, oh, it was different in Cabo, which, if I were a friend of Ramses, I would say, well, duh, of course it was different in Cabo. You were probably different in Cabo too. Like, you were on vacation. We're not our vacation selves in real life. And I think
Yeah.
they almost do them a disservice taking them to the honeymoon before the real life, I think, on this show, because it's like, you're setting them up. You're setting them up twice. One, in the pods where they're not seeing this person, so all you have is conversation. And then now they have the physical, and they're in this like paradise, idyllic place. And now they have to go back to reality and decide if they want to get married. Like, they're setting them up by taking them into paradise and then into reality. And it just maybe got too real.
And then we see she calls her. Yeah, we see she calls her mom. We didn't hear what her mom had to say.
Do you? Okay. Do you think she should have called her mom in that moment? I would have called a friend.
Anybody. No. If I witnessed that dynamic from my mom, I don't think that I would have called my mom.
I was like, oh no, this is a mistake, because now the next guy is gonna be even worse. Yeah.
And her mom said something, I think when she was at the table for the initial meeting, about, oh yeah, Marissa's always in her fairy tale world, and this just seems like high school Marissa, where she's just doing something silly, or I don't know. So her mom was already not taking it serious. So,
well, I mean, her mom wouldn't, because she doesn't believe in forever. So I don't know. I just think there maybe were other people, and that's not, obviously her mom is someone who brings her comfort, so that's why she called. But I think maybe I would have called the mom when I was a little bit more composed. I call a friend, call your sister, somebody in that moment, because with a mother like that, and that's not to say she has a bad mom, but it would be hard for the next situation to come and for her mom to not remember how heartbroken her daughter was when she called her. Like her mom has a memory of hurts that she will use in the future.
Oh yeah.
Anyway, would you be okay with them continuing to date after this?
Yeah, I would. But he would need to be a lot more specific about what his issues are. As I said before, I've had a hard time trying to kind of understand Marissa and who she is, which is not for me to understand. So maybe without the cameras there, he can really hone in on who she is as a person, what she wants, and get a clear understanding of the things that she's really solid on or feels solid on at this point in her life, in the areas where she's still trying to figure it out in gray areas. So.
Yeah. I don't know if I would be okay with them continuing to date. I think there's a lot of figuring out that both of them, would have to do. Yeah, I don't know that I'd be okay with her continuing to date.
I mean, after the way she broke down,
because she said, oh, just 2 days ago we picked out our first dance song. And so it's such a painful thing to move past.
And it seems like all it took was one conversation with a family member or two.
He said there were two people, who he talked to, who had him.
Why couldn't you have talked to them earlier?
Before. Right.
Why get this girl so excited for the wedding and the process? But on the flip side, at least, I guess he didn't do it at the altar. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's all bad.
He seems to be above board. He's. I think it was a shock to her. It would have been a shock either way. I don't know. Anyway, next. I hate that. I'm sorry, Marissa. He would have to apologize in very big ways and over a very long period of time for me to be like, oh yeah, my friend should still date him. But if he's as
now
comforting,
and now that we keep talking through it, I I just don't know if she's his person and vice versa. You know, they jumped in very quickly in Cabo. You know, the physical attraction was there, and it's kind of like after the fact they start having these big conversations around the military, the birth control, the kids timing, you know, physical intimacy, and just I don't know. It feels like it was a reverse of maybe what needed to happen. Not that you want to spend your honeymoon in super deep conversations the whole time, but I felt other couples were having more deeper conversations, even though they crashed and burned too, than they were. So I don't know. Maybe it was just finding the right balance of we're here to enjoy ourselves, but also hash out some more serious things.
Yeah. I don't know if they are each other's person, but if he does make her feel the way that she said, like, you know, I feel safe. Well, that's probably out the window now, but this is the person who has been the most gentle with me. Like, even in that moment, he was comforting and hugging her. Like, you know, I guess that is difficult to replicate. So maybe that's something that she would consider when deciding if she should move forward. Like, I know this person loves me. I know that, you know, they're trying to make the best decision for us. They are still gentle. They're a soft place for me to land. Like, you know, there are things that she would overlook or be able to move past because he has such a strong presence for her. But okay, next.
Next.
So the bachelor and bachelorette party. I thought the bachelor party was super fun. I would love that type of experience to get out there in front of everybody and play on the, I was going to say on the field, on the court. I thought I would love that experience. If that were my bachelorette, I would be happy. And I don't even do basketball a whole lot anymore. But yeah, I thought that was good. The bachelorette, there wasn't much.
The pajama party was cute. A little bit of a snooze fest, but
it was. I mean, it's just two people. So at this point, they've been through the ringer. They're just happy to be standing still. Okay. There are things that were said in the conversations with the girls. So Taylor said, you know, both Ashley and I are strong women. So if there was anything that came up that was a non-negotiable, you know, we would have been done. And then Ashley says, yeah, I would have literally acted like he died. So I don't know if the editors are being funny or if they're gearing up for something else. I don't know, but it just seems intentional that they are highlighting all of Tyler's conversations about the kids and all of Ashley's conversations about, oh yeah, I would have been done. Even the day of her wedding, which we'll get to, there was something that she said about, oh, the only way I would say no is if something drastic happens between now and me walking down to this. So they keep playing up this idea of Ashley turning him down or leaving him if anything else comes up. And so I don't know, it feels like the editors are being funny.
and even I think it was Taylor said something about giving the men grace because of how fast paced the process is, and given what we know now, are these things you should be giving grace on?
So can we talk about what has happened over the last few days? 'Cause, I mean, it's out there now regarding the Tyler and Ashley situation. So before we go into their wedding, because we could not watch their wedding without considering these things that have been happening in the background. So firstly, the mother of Tyler's kids, Bri, came out to tell her side of the story about how, you know, the first child was a sperm donor situation, but the
goal was a sperm donor situation, but it may have been conceived naturally.
Well, I'm just saying what the mother of the children said.
What Bri said. Yeah, you're right.
So she said that it was a sperm donor situation, and then the twins, the second and third children, they were conceived naturally. And that's not something that she has wanted to come out and say because she has spent most of her life being a lesbian, and that's not necessarily accepted in the community. And so she comes out and everybody's like, okay, so he, for whatever reason, decided to take full responsibility for the first child as well. And so legally, he has 3 children, not just, oh, I was a sperm donor for one, and then the other 2 are my kids, naturally, but he has legal responsibility for all 3 children. Then, like yesterday or day before, we see an interview with the mother of Tyler's kids, ex-wife. So her ex-wife comes out and essentially says Tyler fought tooth and nail to replace her as the second parent for this child, went to the courts and handled it in a very messy way to make sure that he could assume legal responsibility for the kid who he was just supposed to be a sperm donor for, and making sure that he took care of the twins. So it seems like Tyler fought really hard to be a father of 3 just to abandon them. That's the story that's out right now.
Yeah.
So
Right. And a lot of other details we're giving y'all, like it's way too much for us to talk about in this video. If you want, the videos are out there. You can go listen. It's a lot more to this story, but at a high level, legally, he is responsible for the 3 kids.
And the one kid he wasn't initially responsible for legally, he fought to become a legal guardian for. So everything that he's told Ashley is untrue. Correct. Or is like a half truth, not even a half, like a quarter of a truth. And yeah, so he has 3 kids that he's responsible for.
He does have 3 kids.
All right. So then we go into the wedding, which it would have been a beautiful end of season that the couples who made it to the altar did say yes. It would have been such a nice end of this season, but we know so much about Tyler. So I don't know. Tyler's friends and family showed up, and I just wonder the extent, like how informed they are about everything. Because I can't imagine somebody's grandmother showing up when her grandson has abandoned his 3 kids to do this process. So maybe some of the family members think that he's been upfront about everything. I don't know. It just makes his whole family seem shady.
From what I've gathered, everyone in the family knew about these kids, but the way it was presented was that he was Uncle Ty and helped his lesbian friend conceive kids. That's from what I've heard. That yes, his family knew, but I don't think they knew all the details of the how and the this and the that and the court cases. It was, yes, these kids know who I am. I am in their life, but I'm Uncle Ty, and me and Bri are not together. Now, I could be wrong. That's just from what I've heard. And based off what we've seen at this wedding, no one brings anything up. No one says anything. And he was very nervous. I also wonder, was he nervous that anybody would say more in this time of like everyone interacting? Because that also was a big risk. It also tells me that maybe they all thought it was a sperm donor situation based off of what he was telling them. Keep in mind, this is last year. They have not maybe seen and heard everything that we have. So
right, because the mother of his kids said that she saw him the day before he went. So maybe everybody's thinking everything is copacetic. Probably not his friends, though. His friends probably know more than they were letting on. But I'm just concerned about like a grandmother and his mother. Maybe
they all knew about the kids.
But moms have a way of covering up for their sons sometimes. So I'm like, did she know more about the situation that she let on?
And say his mom did know. Would she have anticipated he would have lied about it? Him and this bride lady weren't in a relationship. Even she said, "Oh, I wanted him to go find love." So everyone seemed to be on board with him going and pursuing this thing. And even Bryce said it wasn't until he got back from filming where he deleted the Facebook, all of his information on Facebook, where red flags were going off for her. So assuming at the time that this was filmed, and I maybe want to give his mom the benefit of the doubt in that he wouldn't have lied the way that he did on the show. So her showing up to the wedding and not saying anything and being supportive, I'm like, okay, at that time, I could see her doing that. Only
Yeah.
he knew that he lied about it. So, and if she herself was raising kids as a single mom, like, oh, I'd hope that she wouldn't be an active participant in
One
anything
could
crazy
hope.
like this.
But you
But
know,
who
sometimes people
knows?
are like, "Well, I had to
Yeah.
struggle, so other people should too." There are people with that mindset. But Ashley was saying all the things that she loved about him. He makes me feel powerful. Uh, you know, then she said, "But leaps of faith don't always mean that you know the outcome." So I hope there's enough hesitancy or there's enough like common sense that with all the stuff coming out, I can understand because people have shown her defending her castmate in the comments, or there was one comment that she made defending him. I think this was maybe before the mother of his kids and her ex-wife came to speak out. So I'm hoping with all the new information that she takes it into account. But she could also be someone who's like, I'm committed to this and I'm not listening to the streets. Like, I know him. And so I'm
And
just going
based
to
off,
go with what I know.
yeah. And then there was a conversation that she had with her mom and grandma, which are beautiful, by the way,
I thought her grandma was her
where
aunt.
they call out how she's healed. No, it was a grandma. Yeah.
Right.
So they called out how she's healed and they're so happy to see her in this place. And she calls out, like, hey, there are things in Pop Pop that weren't desirable. And I know you wanted more, grandma. And the things that I saw in my dad, where I had to get to a
Yeah.
place of accepting what he could offer. And so she seems to be very reflective yet open to giving people a second chance and not throwing them away or discarding relationships because a portion of them isn't perfect. And so while I love to hear that she's healed and that she's been able to find a way to move forward with these familiar relationships that weren't perfect, I just wonder if she's applying that same mindset for her future romantic relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even her dad called out something. He was like, only focus on the positive. Don't be a runner. And I'm like, I don't know. Her dad kind of gives Playboy vibes a bit. I don't know if it's the earring or what.
A bit.
But
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know if dad is the one we need to be listening to because it sounds like he was running amok in his
Back in his
day
day.
or still is.
Yeah. So I mean, obviously they get down
Ooh,
to the
funny.
altar. They say beautiful vows, and they both
Which, one
what?
thing, her dress. I loved it. I
It
needed to
looked
see the
much
whole thing
better,
put
right?
together.
Yeah.
It looks so much better. I don't know, something about the try on. I was like, I don't see it. I don't like what I'm seeing. But no, she looked stunning.
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
she looked
And
so
with the
beautiful.
veil, like it
Yeah.
all came to I loved her earrings. I loved everything about the look.
Hmm.
It came together. It
Yeah.
came together.
Hmm.
Okay. Is there anything else you have to say about this?
Yeah, they come down the aisle. Their vows were fine. It's just so hard because we know so
Too
much. So I
much.
was just kind of like,
Yeah.
let's get through this so we can get to the reunion and see
Mm-hmm.
where things are because this is a year ago. And so I'm not flustered by the fact that she said yes
Mm-hmm.
last year.
Right.
So yeah, it's like,
Agreed.
well, I need the update though.
But
Yeah.
I do wish the reunion had been shot like today instead of last week because I heard
Mm,
that it was shot last week. And so I wish it would have been shot today so we had the the ex-wife and the mother of his kids like their videos to go off of, or maybe they could have asked it at the reunion. All right, Taylor and
One
Garrett.
last thing I will
Oh.
say, Tyler's obviously a liar. No, there's one more thing I wanted to
Mm-mm.
say on Tyler. He is a liar. I think he has shown that he's probably a deadbeat dad. I don't think his feelings for Ashley are fake. I think he really fell for her. I think he really cares about her. I think he feels like he hit the jackpot with her. And so while all of those other things are true, I'm not getting he's scamming us about his feelings for her. Being with her based off of everything else we've seen and heard would be a major come up. So, yeah.
You know, that's interesting because I wrote Tyler's probably crying so much because he knows once everything comes out, he's going to lose this amazing woman. Like, he has to know.
That's why he's so emotional. Yeah, it's the day, but in under real circumstances where she probably knew all this ahead of time, he could never pull her.
Ever. Anyway, all right. Taylor and Gary, I don't have too much on them. I think they are as close as we could get to a love story on this season, but they do have a really good and successful and consistent love story. So I'm happy for them. I liked the dress when she tried it on better. So the opposite of Ashley,
I don't like that. I liked her first dress. Yeah.
Yeah. Why did she cut it short?
No, it was long. That second dress was always short.
Are you sure? I remember a longer.
I'm sure it was like that when she tried it.
No way. What?
That was the first dress. That was the first dress that her mom didn't like, that she loved, that I thought looked better. And then the second dress was that half, what do they call it? High-low kind of look. That's the one that her mom really liked. So that's the one that she went for. And I didn't care for it.
I'm going to go back and watch the episode because I remember saying, I'm so glad her mom had her change out of the first dress into the second one. And I remembered it being a longer dress. It was off the shoulder, but it was longer. And I just thought the plain, like satin or silk, whatever material it was, looked better on her than what she had on before. So I'm going to go back and watch that episode, but I don't remember it being short. Anyway,
I remembered it being a high-low kind of thing.
I think their parents are on board now. It seems like both parents got married on the 13th, and now they're getting married on the 13th. So it seems like it was really like a nice connection that they didn't even realize, or at least it didn't seem like they realized. So I don't have much on them.
Yeah. And I'll say, I feel like his parents were a good example to other parents struggling with kind of sending their son off or letting him start, their life. I think some parents, it's like, say how you feel. You can be disappointed. You're human. You can have emotions around this not being what you wanted for them. And be honest, like, hey, this is going to take us some time to work through our feelings on, specifically the mom. But I appreciated that she was able to be emotional, but really supportive. I find that some parents, when you veer off the path of what they want for you, they just cannot seem to get it together to show real, genuine support. So I appreciated how his mom was able to be herself and not hide it, but also be respectful of the day and her son. And ultimately, like, they have each other. And as he said, I didn't think I could find my person that would just fit me so well. And if that means that he's going to pick up and move, he's a grown man. He can make those decisions, and we have airplanes. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add. I'm just ready for the reunion. So I'm okay with stopping there unless you have more to say.
Yeah, no, that's it. Let's wrap this up so we can, girl, I feel like so much more might end up coming out between now and next Wednesday.
We need to rest up. We need to rest our vocal cords. Okay, and we review Married at First Sight, so that review will be up tomorrow. So if you watch Married at First Sight, make sure you subscribe to our channel. But yeah, let us know in the comments what you think about Marissa and Rams. If you listen to the TikTok clips from Tyler's, the mother of Tyler's kids, and her ex-wife, if you saw that interview, please let us know in the comments what your thoughts are about everything. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Bye.